At just 38 years old, Pastor Lovy Elias has already built a reputation as one of the most influential and spiritually compelling prophetic voices of this generation. But with that influence came whispers, assumptions, wild theories, and expectations that grew louder every year. Supporters believed he was chosen. Critics questioned his rise. Followers wondered what battles he was fighting privately. And through it all, Lovy remained composed, focused, and silent about the deeper layers of his life. That silence ended recently, and what he revealed stunned absolutely everyone watching. Pastor Lovy opened up about the emotional weight he has been carrying behind the scenes, admitting that his calling has not been the glamorous, effortless path many people assume it to be. According to him, the prophetic gift comes with warfare that doesn't always show up on camera or in sermons. He spoke honestly about sleepless nights, spiritual fatigue, and seasons where he felt misunderstood, even by the people closest to him. For the first time, he confirmed that the pressure of leading thousands, while also managing personal storms, had pushed him into moments where he questioned himself, his strength, and the endurance required for the assignment he carries. It was the kind of vulnerability rarely seen in the prophetic world. One of the biggest revelations he shared was how isolating his rise had been. People looked at the miracles, the accurate prophecies, the packed services, the global following, and assumed he had supernatural strength to handle everything with ease. But what they didn't see were the moments he wrestled with fear, the battles he fought in prayer, the sacrifices he made in silence, and the relationships that suffered because of his calling. He admitted that the higher he climbed, the fewer people he could trust. Not because he wanted distance, but because he learned the hard way that not everyone around him celebrated him honestly. Some came for access, some came for proximity, some came for advantage, and some came because they wanted to tear him down. Pastor Lovy also addressed the rumors that had circulated around him for years, rumors about his personal life, his past, and the transitions that had fueled endless online debates. For the first time, he acknowledged the emotional cost of hearing false narratives about himself repeated by strangers who never met him. He explained that he stayed silent, not because he had anything to hide, but because he believed defending himself would distract from the work he was called to do. Yet, with all the noise building over time, he chose this moment to finally speak because he wanted to free people from misunderstanding and refocus the conversation back on what truly matters. What surprised many was how gracefully he handled the questions surrounding his rise to prophetic prominence. Instead of boasting about his accuracy or defending his gift, he explained the price of it. He shared that prophetic clarity often comes with personal sacrifice, loss, isolation, spiritual attacks, and a level of emotional intensity most people never witness. He admitted the journey has been painful, that there were moments when he wanted to disappear from the public eye altogether, and times when the weight of his assignment felt far heavier than his age suggested he could carry. But what kept him grounded was his unwavering belief that every challenge had purpose attached to it. The reaction from the faith community was immediate and emotional. People expressed shock at hearing someone they admired speak so transparently. Others praised him for being a spiritual leader who wasn't afraid to look human, reminding everyone that even the anointed feel the strain of their calling. His supporters said his honesty made them appreciate him even more, because it showed he wasn't operating from perfection, but from obedience. Critics who expected defensive explanations or dramatic deflections were surprised by his honesty. And many who previously misunderstood him admitted that his confession shifted their perspective completely. But perhaps the most powerful part of his revelation was the message he left his followers with. He urged people not to worship leaders, not to idolize gifts, and not to forget that every spiritual warrior they admire has wounds they don't talk about. He encouraged people to walk in grace, to pray for those who lead them, and to understand that calling does not erase humanity. It was a reminder that leaders cry, leaders struggle, and leaders sometimes break, but still show up because purpose demands it. This moment marks a turning point in Pastor Lovy's journey. Not a fall, not a scandal, not a crisis, but a rare, honest pause. A space where he finally allowed people to see behind the mantle, behind the microphone, behind the prophetic title, and witness the man who carries it. His confession didn't damage his influence, it deepened it. And for many people watching, it was exactly the kind of truth they needed to hear. Whether you follow him closely, or only know him from afar, one thing is clear: this admission has reshaped the conversation. And if this new level of transparency continues, Pastor Lovy Elias might be entering the most impactful season of his ministry yet, one where authenticity speaks louder than any rumor ever could. In the days following his confession, something unexpected began happening. People who once sat silently in the back of his congregation began sharing their own stories of pressure, burnout, and hidden battles. It was as if Pastor Lovy's honesty opened a door that had been locked for years. Members who had always viewed him as unshakable suddenly felt permission to acknowledge the cracks in their own lives. Couples talked about the weight of responsibility they had been carrying in silence. Young believers admitted they often felt inadequate in their spiritual walk. Even seasoned leaders stepped forward and confessed they had been operating on empty for far too long. Instead of weakening the ministry, Lovy's vulnerability strengthened its foundation by creating an atmosphere where authenticity replaced spiritual performance. In a way, he didn't just unburden himself, he unintentionally created a space for healing in others. Now, as the dust begins to settle, many believe this may become one of the defining moments of Lovy's spiritual legacy. Not the miracles, not the prophecies, not the viral clips, but this moment where he allowed himself to be fully seen. His supporters say this shift marks the evolution of a leader stepping into a deeper phase of purpose, one that prioritizes truth over image and humanity over perfection. Whether he intended it or not, Pastor Lovy has reminded the entire community that the strongest leaders are not the ones who never fall, they're the ones willing to stand back up with honesty, humility, and clarity. And if this new era of openness continues, his influence may grow in ways even he never anticipated.